All right, guys, what's happening? What's happening? Happy Friday to you. It's Friday, August 27th, 2021. This morning, guys, we're going to talk about perspective and how your point of view is your perspective. Now, I want you guys to think about this for a second. You know, when you consider how you view the world, what your point of view is, what your position on things is, where does that come from? And how does that shape how you actually view the world? And then how do you reshape that if you're maybe looking at things a little negatively or a little bit different, or you want to change the way that you look at things? You want to change, kind of how you feel or how you operate. We're going to unpack all that this morning. I think this is going to be an incredible episode. Let's get started.
It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life. And then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.
What's happening, guys? Good morning. Happy Friday to you, man. It is, as Cam Roberts just said, it's Lions Day, boy. It's time to create some distance. It's time to have a little separation today. It's time to put in some work, and we're going to do that this morning. We're going to get started talking about your point of view is your perspective. I'm going to talk about actions and how those actions actually come from a place of experiences and kind of how everything works from the way that we think, and then how that turns into, as a whole, the whole life that we create is a result of our point of view, our perspective, our experiences, all that kind of stuff. But before I do that, as always, I want to run through and say good morning to everybody. Cam Roberts, good morning to you, brother. John Stanton, Curtis, Ed, Steve, Gary, Rick, Daniel, and John Rugg, my brother. Good morning to you, man. And thank you guys for being here. So the title of this is Your Point of View is Your Perspective. I shared a post on Instagram this week that I got a lot of DMs about, just was a good conversation around. And it started with a quote that said, just as we define our actions define us. I want you to consider how that relates to the title of this show. So your point of view is your perspective. Just as we define our actions define us. Well, your point of view, your position on something is your perspective. It is shaped by your perspective. It's shaped by all of the things that lead up to you being who you are in this moment today. And so I want to take a step back from the idea of your point of view as your perspective, and I want to talk about that quote. Just as we define our actions define us. It's a quote by George Eliot. And so where do our actions actually come from? Well, I'm going to read you what I wrote in this post. I'm going to read you a little bit about what I talked about this morning on Breakfast with Champions. Our actions are a culmination of experiences, thoughts, assumptions, values, principles, and plenty of other things that we don't have time to bore you with this morning. But when you think about your actions, how do you act things out? Like, where do the decisions that you make, the way that you react, the way that you handle things, where does that come from? Well, it comes from your own experiences. It comes from your life, and it is shaped by your perspective. It's shaped by your point of view. Your point of view is also shaped by your experiences, your thoughts, your assumptions, your values, your principles. And so what we do as human beings is we come up with an acceptable list of things that we can do, the way that we can react to things, based on, remember this, based on what we know at a specific moment in time, based on our experiences, our education, our values, our principles in a moment in time. And is it not true that our values and our principles and the things that we believe They can change over time. Our point of view, our perspective can change over time from the work that we put in, from the people that we surround ourselves with. It can be better, it can be worse. You can improve the way that you respond to things by surrounding yourself with emotionally intelligent people, very grounded people that can think through things. Or you can surround yourself with a bunch of people who constantly react to things in ways that they shouldn't, overreact, and you're going to get worse. But the second part of that is we also allow ourselves to make excuses at different levels, at different times in our lives, based on our experiences at that particular moment. Those excuses come from what we're willing to accept in that particular moment in time. So an example of this would be if someone actually hurts us, someone does some damage to us, it may change what we allow people to do. It may actually shape the way that we react to things by someone hurting us, right? And what's cool about that is we may actually become more virtuous by someone else being less virtuous to us. Because of how it made us feel, we make a pact with ourselves. We shift our perspective. We shift our point of view, and we shift the actions that we're going to take to say we're never going to treat somebody like that because of how somebody treating us that way made us feel. And so when those thoughts or when those perspectives, when your point of view converts into actions, the reality or the thoughts in our head that we go through are actually shaped into reality. They are cemented for that particular thought. That thought becomes a thing, and action in that moment happens. And so consider this, guys. When our thoughts become things, isn't it one of the most important things that we can do is to always be extremely aware of our perspective, of our foundation, of our principles, of our values, of those things that shape the way that we actually think, and the way that we think turns into actions? Thoughts become things. When you think about something, when you get angry, you will act out in anger. When you have calm thoughts, you will act out in a way that is probably more in alignment with who you are. When you're able to restrain yourself from jumping into conversations when you're in the heat of the moment, you're going to have a much better result on the back end. And guys, remember this. We live in a world that moves extremely, extremely fast. So fast that sometimes we overlook the magnitude of some of the things that we do. We take an extremely relaxed approach to some areas of our lives because things in other areas are going pretty well. So we kick back and we think about just how good it is on that side of things. So we maybe think we can get away with some things over here. And I don't know many people that aren't guilty of that. But remember, we do actually define our actions, and our actions actually do define us. And your point of view turns into your perspective. Your perspective turns into your thoughts. Your thoughts turn into actions. And so it's important for us to remember to be intentional when we choose our actions and to never move so fast that you lose the ability to process the impact of those actions. So ask yourself today, how are your actions defining you? How are you processing these things that are difficult, right? And as we unpack this thought of your point of view, where you stand on something, how you communicate about it. I think a lot of light bulbs will go off for all of us if we think about that for a while. There's a lot of things going on in the world that sometimes we're too quick to judge. Society as a whole tells us that the person that breaks the news story first is going to win. But isn't it true that sometimes the person that breaks the news story first doesn't actually have all the facts? Think about it. And if they overreach because of their point of view and their perspective of wanting to be first, they can actually lose by being incorrect. And so all of that, guys, has balance. All of that has a place that is rooted, again, in experiences, thoughts, assumptions, values, how you were raised, some of the things that have happened to you in your life. And so I encourage you today to think about, how does that play out in your own life? Are you a person that is able to digest something and respond appropriately? Are you a person that, reacts quickly and doesn't wait for all the facts? And how is that shaped by your point of view? How is it shaped by your perspective? And again, the quote reads, just as we define our actions will define us. And so we've all worked for or with those people that, maybe don't have the best emotional IQ, we'll call it. And those people that, just react to everything, right? They just react to everything. They're just, reactive in a major way to everything. And it creates this culture of uncertainty. It creates a lack of trust. It creates anxiety in the other people that might be interacting with that person. And it doesn't create an environment where people can actually thrive, where people feel, comfortable and like they're able to grow, like they're able to make mistakes, things like that. We have to allow other people to use their own experiences and thoughts and share those things and give them an opportunity to step into their new perspective. When they're able to work on themselves, they're able to see themselves different, and they're able to step into new experiences and new thoughts and new point of view. And this is an extremely powerful thing to watch. I've watched it happen in several people that are close to me, watching that evolution of, how people can actually teach themselves how to process things better. And those people, when they figure that out, they're able to elevate themselves, their businesses, their careers to a whole new level, because what they're actually able to handle is exceptional. What they're able to handle as this new perspective is shaped, as their new point of view is able to take shape. This is extremely important. So I want you guys to process that today. I want you to think about what it looks like from your point of view, your perspective. How do you handle these things? And are you emotionally mature enough to be able to process things properly? Or do you find yourself in a lot of heated situations? Because your ability to do this will define your actions over a long period of time, and your actions eventually lead to your legacy. And your legacy is everything. What will you be remembered for? What will your children remember you for? What will those people that you've impacted in your company or in your career, on your journey, personally, professionally, what will they remember you for? Your point of view is your perspective, guys. And your perspective shapes your thoughts, is your thoughts, and your thoughts become actions. Those thoughts become things. And so it's important for us to be extremely aware of all of those things. So as you go into this Friday, consider all of this. Think about where it is that you are in your journey right now and how do you reshape that. And I'm going to tell you this. You reshape that over a long period of time about making choices about what content to consume, what books to read, who to connect to, who to maybe hire as a mentor, who to connect with as a mentor, who to, watch their YouTube videos, what conferences to go to. But over a period of time, guys, you can completely reshape your entire life. And I am proof of it. And there's a lot of people on here that are proof of it. You can reshape your whole life. You can reshape your perspective. You can learn. You can unlearn the things that you thought you knew. And as you do that, as you move forward with a better point of view, a more clear point of view, a more educated point of view, and it's not just based on things that have happened to you in the past or experiences, but it's based on a lot of different things, a lot of different knowledge. You're going to find a calm about you that you didn't have before. And you can always increase that, right? You can always continue working on it. And that calm leads to peace. And that peace allows you to communicate about things on another level that you didn't think was possible and actually get through to people in ways that you couldn't before. And that will create a life around you that will create a massive amount of fulfillment. And it won't always all be fun, but it will always end in a good place because of your ability to process all these things, for you to see how your point of view, your perspective shapes your thoughts shape your actions, and how thoughts become things. Thoughts become events, thoughts become issues, actions, thoughts become actions, actions become issues sometimes. And we get caught up sometimes in these issues that just take all of our time for nothing important. And it is important for all of us to be aware of how we deal with those things. And I ask you to consider that today. It is Friday. So as we always say, guys, go out like a lion. Don't go out like a mouse. Make sure you're putting in the work today, man. Call somebody that you haven't talked to in a while today. Call somebody that you haven't spoken to in a while. Check in on them. See how they're doing. There's a lot going on in the world right now. A lot of people are nervous. A lot of people are upset. A lot of people are sad. A lot of people are disturbed. And people need real conversations. They just need somebody to listen. They need somebody to be there for them. And hopefully we can be those people today. Again, go to the whistle today, guys. I say it every week, but man, if you go halfway on Friday, you take off every Saturday and Sunday, you're just unproductive, man. You're throwing your life away. And it doesn't mean you have to work. It means you got to be productive. Laying around on the couch, being a bum like I was when I was sick, that's no way to go through life, guys. And I encourage you guys to call some people today, reach out, make a connection, see how people are doing. Go out like a lion, guys. Call a bunch of people, in fact. It's a Friday, so let's make it count. Go out like a lion. Don't go out like a mouse. Thank you guys for being here. I hope this episode was helpful. If it was, please share this out to your pages. Share it to groups that you might be part of. Go subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet on iTunes or Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, we're all over the place from that standpoint. Tons of downloads, by the way, on the new episode that just launched yesterday with Vaughn Kohler. If you guys haven't listened to that, if you haven't downloaded it yet, I encourage you to do it. It is the most recent episode, or maybe yesterday's Morning Perspective is the most recent, but it's one of the last two episodes there. You will catch it on the podcast platforms. Subscribe, leave a review if you have a few minutes. I would appreciate that too. But most importantly, guys, call somebody today, reach out to somebody you haven't talked to, and go out like a lion today. Don't go out like a mouse. I will see you guys Monday morning, same place, same time, right here on Morning Perspective. Love you guys. Thanks for being here.